I'm Eitan Weinstein.
And I'm Naor Menninger. And you're listening to Two Nice Jewish Boys.
This podcast is made in collaboration with the Jewish Journal.
This Friday, June 14th, the streets of Tel Aviv are going to be bustling with probably over 250,000 people. Why? One word says it all: pride. While we're not at the top of the list, Tel Aviv boasts one of the world's most impressive pride parades. Being situated in the heart of the Middle East might have something to do with that. But what is pride? What is it that attracts over 250,000 people to march through the streets of Tel Aviv? To many, this topic is still controversial. Not just the idea of non-hetero relationships, but also the institution of marriage, the roles and makeup of parenthood, and the definition of gender itself. Shirley Charlie Kleinman is an activist, a public speaker, a journalist, and the Bis Dev manager at LGBTech. LGBTech. It's a tough one. LGBTech, which is a non-for-profit which facilitates a social business network for the LGBTQ community in the tech industry. Shirley Charlie also advocates for the community on various media platforms and outlets. We're very excited to have Shirley Charlie on the podcast today to talk about their life story and to enlighten us a bit about what pride really is. So maybe we could start with that. First of all, thank you for joining.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
We're super excited. So what is pride? How would you define pride?
I think pride is like in the LGBTQ sense of the word. Is mainly two things. Well, three. One is being present, showing that we're here and that we're full of spirit, and we're everywhere, and we're like in every part of the community, like we're in every city, and we're in every country, and we're just part of the human race, because sometimes people don't see LGBTQ people, especially T and Q people, trans and queer people, as human. So it's just to show that we don't need to be included as part of the community, because we are already, by existing, a part of the community.
There is a community.
Yeah, the human community. Meaning, yeah. Also, I think it's about demanding our rights as people who are part of the human community, being treated equally by law, being treated fairly by other people and respectfully, and kindly. And also to provide a family for other people like us that might not even have the courage to even at some point say that they're part of us, or think that they're part of us, but they are. And hopefully when they see us at Pride, whether it's in Tel Aviv Pride Parade or the Jerusalem Pride Parade, which are completely different from one another, because one is a bit of a party and one is more political and like
rebellious.
Yes,
sort of.
it has like a very like it's a type of protest, like a real type of protest. I think that people can find themselves, and like they can meet their like chosen families when they go to Pride. They can see people that they might identify with or want to be like. Sometimes you can get like a hug from a mother if your mother doesn't really accept you as you are, and I think it's amazing. I think it's like a very
empowering.
Empowering, comforting place to be in. And also, I think, it's celebratory in some way of the achievements we already have. And it's from anything from policy change and just mentally, awareness, changing people's views about us. celebrating with allies,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like
Can
that.
you tell us about your first Pride Parade?
Wow. I don't remember specifically if it was the first. I can say that before I went to Tel Aviv parades, I had a few years of going to Jerusalem parades because I like the more political side of the story.
Just so our listeners understand,
yeah.
kind of give them some context. I think it was it 2 or 3 years ago that that a young girl 4 years ago was actually murdered at the Jewish Jerusalem Pride Parade by a fanatical. I mean, he was a
Orthodox.
crazy guy,
Orthodox guy. Okay,
who was just released from prison that week, right?
yeah.
Her name was Shira Banki.
Yes, her name was Shirley Charlie. And what happened was, the guy, which I would not repeat his name because I think it should not be spoken of and should not give attention to a person in that way after doing such horrible deeds.
In Hebrew, they say Mach Shemo.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So that person was released from prison that, I think, week or month after doing time for coming to that same parade 10 years ago, like 10 years back, trying to kill other people and succeeding in injuring people.
Yeah.
And I was in both parades, the first stabbing parade and the second one. And I'm not sure if... No, I don't think the first stabbing parade was my first parade, but it was monumental. Like, I walked besides the marching band in the parade.
The first one, 10 years before the stabbing.
Yeah, the first one.
So it's 14 years ago.
Yeah,
You were
14
how
years
old?
ago. 22,
Okay.
going on 22. And I think, like, when I marched beside the marching band, and when the first stabbing happened, they stopped the parade, and like rumors were going, and things, like, people were very overwhelmed, and they decided to continue walking to show that nothing would break our spirits. And I think it was amazing. And the marching band kind of restarted the parade, and every time I hear the marching band in the parade now, I get a bit triggered. Like, it's kind of ominous in my mind, although everything is fine and I feel secure. But it kind of triggers something. I have to say that the first parades were, I think, every parade even, but it's like when as you become part of the community more and more, then it kind of changes, but it always gives a really nice sense of family. And it always, especially in Jerusalem, I was completely obsessed with Jerusalem drag. What we didn't speak about was the fact that I'm a drag king. Well, I used to be a drag king until, I don't know, a few months ago.
What's the difference between a drag king and a drag queen?
Well, I perform male roles. Yes.
Okay.
Like
Instead of like a female,
Yeah.
male dressing as a queen, it's kind of a female.
basically, like with trans people, when you speak about the gender you transition to, like a trans female is person assigned male, transitioning, like
Yeah.
yeah. So
I want us to talk about gender.
Just-
And yeah.
just a sec. So when we talk about kings and queens, we talk about the performance and not the performer's
Okay, I see.
identity. For instance,
So it doesn't matter.
No,
what the-
yeah. For instance, drag queens can be cisgender men, even heterosexual men. like Dame Edna, Barry Humphries is heterosexual. So they could be heterosexual cisgender men. They could be homosexual cisgender bi, whatever. They can be what some people call bio queens, so to speak, which are women doing drag as women.
You don't see
like
that much,
cisgender.
though. It's less known.
Yeah, but it exists. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
okay.
And they could be trans women, trans men, whatever. But the performance is of a drag queen. So
I do want us to talk actually more about kind of gender fluidity and the definition of gender. But maybe first, if you could tell us kind of a bit about your story. When did you start kind of feeling the things you were feeling, or knowing the things you
define
know?
yourself.
I define myself. So basically, when you just want to communicate with a person, not getting into their pants or asking about their gender, you can ask which pronoun do they answer to. And my pronouns in English are they, them. Should I need to say in Hebrew as well? No. Okay, so in English, it's they, them.
Just for our listeners, Hebrew is a little more complicated because
Yes.
you have you don't say you. There's a you for females and a you for males,
Yes.
so it's a bit different.
Yes. Yona Volach, which is a very famous Israeli poet, said that Hebrew is a sex maniac language. It's obsessed about gender.
Right.
Yes. So that's about it.
So
they, them. And if you can ask about identity, my identity is I'm a non-binary trans person, which means I'm not a boy or a girl, a woman or a man. I'm
You're neither, or you're both.
it's
Or-
mostly first of all, I'm just me. Well, I kind of exist.
But that goes for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But my gender is fluid. Like we say in the community, gender queer, which means my gender is non-binary. And out of all gender queer identities, mine is fluid. Like sometimes I can feel either this or that or neither or both or some combination of. But I don't, meaning when I say I'm just me, I mean, I don't wake up in the morning and think, okay, today I'm a man. Or, okay, now I'm a woman. Or, okay, it's 4:00. Let's be I don't know, whatever. No, it's
maybe
just,
if you were more OCD, you would schedule it.
I
Kind
might.
of like have times a day.
I might. First of all, I was OCD enough. And now everything's cool. So let's not even go there.
But my question is, going back to Eitan's question. So when did you start feeling that way?
Okay, so interestingly enough, I started feeling things I felt things in various ages, and I kind of came together at some point. I'll
Okay.
explain. So first of all, in my childhood, I think I kind of had the perception of myself as a girl, but not necessarily. For instance, when some people wanted to be, I don't know, doctors, lawyers, firemen, women, whatever, cops, I wanted to be a yeshiva boy. Because,
Really?
Yes.
Wait, so I think we need to go a bit farther back. You were born as...
No, that's something you don't ask a person.
you don't?
No, because it's like asking what's the size of your... I don't know if I should...
Eitan is
Okay.
getting a little some
I'm getting-
education.
Yeah,
Basic-
no, this is good, right? This is how you learn.
Yeah.
So you don't ask that. But
No.
isn't that important to understand kind of the journey of someone?
Sometimes it depends on the person.
Okay.
Like sometimes, for instance, I don't know. If you want to understand the journey, you can ask, for instance, if I grew up in a very heteronormative environment.
Okay. Okay.
And
What about
then-
your birth name? Is that
No, okay, so
legitimate to ask, or
so
also no?
basically, in the trans jargon, you call it dead naming when you talk about a person's name
Yeah.
before
I've heard of
like
that.
the name
Okay.
of before transitioning. Some people share their names. Some people share photos. Some people are very like they embrace the whole transition, the whole process. I think that it's really about being very confident about your identity like a mixture between being very confident about your identity, putting yourself out there as a public speaker, and being also being in a very supportive environment sometimes allows that, like to open up to yourself as you were before transitioning. And I think it's an important way of educating people that that if you're not my doctor, or if you're not getting in bed with me with my consent and approval and I don't know, pleasure, then you shouldn't ask what's between my legs or...
wait. We didn't ask that, just for the record.
No, but most people, when they ask what were you born as, after I tell them exactly what happened here...
We're speaking about gender now, not about physical...
So gender...
okay, yeah.
You can, as I said, if I grew up in a heteronormative environment... then gender had an effect on me, for instance. Like, if you ask me that question, I'll say, yes, I don't know, the teachers were very gender-oriented. Right. I felt like I could not express my feelings. I could not, whatever, you know? Like, you can paint a picture, not necessarily knowing what I was assigned at birth. But my whole story kind of says what I was assigned at birth. Which is female. I have to say something that I think is, that question is not, it is very important regarding gender and how you experience the world and how you grew up and what were the expectations and the norms you lived by. But physically, I think it's wrong. I'll explain.
Okay. What is wrong? To ask...
What were you assigned as in birth? I'll
explain.
So, basically, when we're born and we're assigned male or female or intersex. Okay? You know what intersex is?
Like if you're born with both genitals?
So, intersex is, I don't remember the word. Should I say in Hebrew?
Yeah.
Lo mezuhim es
unidentified.
Okay, so unidentified sex, like sex trades. Like it could be like physical trades. It could be genitalia. But and that's what they assigned us by, genitalia.
Right.
So sometimes you can see, like once someone asked me what I was assigned as, and she was quite old, and I told her that's not polite, and then she said, no, I was a nurse in the 70s, and a child was born, and we didn't know what that was, because the genitalia was completely both.
I lost you.
The child was born in the hospital. In a hospital.
So it can be both. It can be neither. It can be sometimes it's hidden. Sometimes you have like external genitalia, but you have of a male, but you actually have ovaries.
That's extremely rare.
It's not that rare. Just a sec. Okay. We're not even at the end of the explanation.
Okay.
So basically, genitalia. Okay. So we're speaking of genitalia.
Right.
But there are many others, other traits that we're not even taking into consideration. For instance, hormone levels. Hormone levels, both male and female individuals have male and female, like in a healthy situation, have male and female hormones. But the levels and the balance is something that the hospital doesn't check, and they can't because you're not in puberty yet. You're just born. So you don't have results for that. There is chromosomes, XY, XX, but there are many other different types of chromosomes. I don't want to think YYZ. You can even find it on Wiki, like the most accessible. Yeah, Google it. Also, like gonad glands, ovaries, and testicles, they don't work until they don't function until you're in puberty. And also secondary features like facial hair, like body structure and stuff like that, they only reveal themselves when you're in puberty. And I have two friends that lived, one in the block next to where I was born and one in the building next to where I was born, which are intersex. And they're basically socially they're trans women because they were assigned men. They were assigned as like male, and now they're like trans women, but physically they're intersex. They both grew up as intersex because of a syndrome of the Y chromosome, that more and more women are coming out and like trans women are coming out and speaking.
Medically, is that a disorder? Specifically the physical. I'm not talking about gender right now.
Yeah.
But if you are born with a male genitalia, but your hormones are abnormal or not male, is that considered by, you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, well, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
And
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm truly...
People refer to some conditions as this and that syndrome. I don't remember exactly the name of the syndrome we're speaking of, but the syndrome created, basically it was it created a situation where the level of hormones, both male and female hormones in their bodies, were almost down to zero. And like one of them told me that when she in puberty, when she, for instance, drank or ate something with soy, she had hot flashes because it has phytoestrogen, estrogen from nature. And when she practiced sports, she started growing facial hair because when you practice sports, your level of testosterone.
But isn't that almost anecdotal?
We're getting off topic though, because I do want to get back to it, but we started with why is it wrong to ask the question, and then I also want to get back because our original question was to talk about you a little bit.
But the question, I think it's an important issue because I wanted to ask you, because I mean, if we don't ask questions, how can we, like, shouldn't it be like, I would want to suggest that it's okay to ask any question, but then it's legitimate to say, I don't want to talk about it, right? Because if we're afraid to ask questions, then how can we get better in understanding?
Well, you can ask me any question.
I'm not talking about you specifically. You said in general, it's not allowed to ask some kinds of questions.
No, what do you mean allowed? People ask them every day. I would not ask you what is the size of your penis.
But it's not necessarily the same.
No, well, of course it's the same.
To me, it's like us.
If someone wants to communicate with me, they do not have to know which gender I was assigned at birth. They just can ask me what are your pronouns, and then we could talk about
I agree with you a bit and you a bit. I think that there are questions that are impolite to ask in normal society, right? I don't ask, like you said, the size of your penis, but I also don't ask you, how often do you have sex? I wouldn't ask someone I work with how much they're making. There are questions that aren't polite.
Yeah.
But if we were to be sitting here and having a discussion about penis sizes, conversation. No, if we were sitting here and having a conversation about penis sizes and how they correlate to culture, or I don't know what, then maybe. Well, I guess it still wouldn't be polite. I guess it still wouldn't be polite.
It would be interesting for some people.
Yeah,
but I'm not, and. I know. Are we talking about transgenderism as a cultural thing? So as a cultural thing, as a cultural topic, I think I think that people still are not well educated, and some of that is regarding to questions that they should ask, and some are regarding to questions they shouldn't ask.
No, it's interesting.
The question is, for me, Okay, I get it that for you, for example, if you tell me that for you that question is like asking someone the size of his... Wait,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a second. I get that for you it's the same. I'm not arguing with it. I totally accept it. But maybe for someone else, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I'm
understand.
saying?
I understand. And
So
what
maybe
that,
some people would feel comfortable, and I can't know for sure.
Yeah. The thing is, I'll just say that some people actually ask what I have between my legs.
That's
They don't even cover that. They don't even cover that.
Discussion. Wow.
But you can
That's
see- you can
obviously
be-
that's wrong.
You can see it in people's eyes what they mean. And sometimes I know they don't mean any harm, but I would prefer them to just ask how to communicate with me. And if they want to ask something about my gender roles, how I perceive them, how I was educated, then ask that. Don't ask what I was assigned as.
Okay.
And also, for instance, I had a talk with someone yesterday, and we spoke about trans men being rude, like being privileged or being rude. And the fact that if you're acting in a rude way, it doesn't matter how you were assigned. If people look at you and see you as a threat, then you should check yourself. So even if you were raised as a girl and you're being an asshole, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, I think that's quite obvious. no?
Yeah. So no, it's not
Apparently
not
not.
that obvious.
Yeah,
So
okay.
regarding
For me,
So
it's
back
hard
to you,
not be an asshole
back to
in general.
your life story. Then.
so basically
So you dreamed of being a yeshiva boy?
Yeah. I'll explain.
I mean, that's just weird in general. It's like,
Don't judge. Maybe other people listening to this dreamt of
I
being
was a yeshiva boy.
Okay, so there you go.
I didn't dream of it.
It's very exciting that you got to
I didn't
live
dream
my
of it. I
dream.
have nightmares about it.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder if there's a syndrome of dreaming of being a yeshiva boy. If
Yeah,
it's like
it might.
So why did you dream of being a yeshiva boy?
So basically a few reasons. First of all, they dressed really nicely.
They have style.
Like they have style. They have like the suits.
The
and
shabbat-
stuff.
The Shabbatnikim,
Shabbatnikim,
yeah.
yeah. They had the suits and everything. So I was kind of into the suits. And also I think two other reasons. One is the fact that they studied away from home, and they kind of had like a freedom feel
Like they were
to
independent.
them. That were independent. They were free to study, and they also were always in groups. I was extremely not popular. I was so unpopular. It was really sad, and they were kind of studying in groups and hanging around in groups, and I'm like, wow,
Chavruta.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was really
So you saw them hanging around.
yeah.
your-
I'm from Petah Tikva, so
Oh, yeah.
they're everywhere.
Yeah.
No,
So-
it's like
So
culture.
what was the point where you decided, okay, I don't know, you felt different, and at what point did you decide also to, like, I don't know what the proper term is, but come out?
So
Or-
basically, so it's a long story, kind of.
Give us the abridged version.
Yeah. It's basically it has a few stages. First stage was me understanding I'm bisexual at the age of 16. Then coming to the understanding that I'm attracted only to women, which kind of changed, but only to women when I was 17, coming out in front of my parents at 19. And then interesting things started to happen. Well, along the years, I felt I have a very, like, things regarding my, I don't know if it was my identity. Actually, if I knew that this is what it was, but things started coming up. For instance, I was in the bathroom once, and I put my hand on my chest. I wasn't wearing anything except for boxers, and I did not feel my, like, feminine chest. I felt a masculine chest, and, like, I didn't feel breasts. And
Like, physically you didn't feel?
physically, like, it was like the
What age are we?
23. 3.
Okay.
And
What does that mean, though?
I don't know. It was just a very like I thought of that for a second, and of course a day after, and a few times after that, it just felt very natural. It did not feel like my body is feeling something that is not in tune with me. And
I have to ask, if I can,
Yeah.
how did your parents react to you?
no, I'm not speaking about my
okay.
family.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So
Out of
your-
respect. So basically, I didn't put my hands between my legs or anything. It just to feel what's going on there. I didn't think about it. I just thought, okay, so this is what I feel right now, and it's not strange to me. It's exciting. It feels right, but I don't really know why. And then we'll get to that. We'll get to go back at the end. So we're proceeding to the age of 30. I'm basically 35, going on 36. So
We did the math.
so proceeding to the age of 30, I sat at the TLV Fest, which is the Tel Aviv LGBTQ film festival. And I came to watch like a screening of a few short documentaries about trans women. And I always had, by the way, I had a very, very strong connection to the trans community. For instance, one of the friends that were, the intersex friends that were, that lived near me, she was my, I think, first or second love interest. She was very, very feminine in childhood. She was very like beautiful and very, very brave, as I saw it. She was like a hero to me. And not even knowing what's going on, just like the vibes, you feel like a family. We're still friends. We kind of drifted apart and then came back together as like to rekindle the friendship. So anyways, what happened was I went to the movie theater to see that bunch of short documentaries about trans women, and then I discovered that I kind of missed something, and it were documentaries about trans men. There were documentaries about trans men, which I knew about. I knew of the concept, but I didn't encounter it too much, or at least some parts of my brain that were not developed enough to make the connection between my identity and the trans male identity, whatever. So I sat there in the movie theater, and at some point, when all the movies ended, I just sat there and cried. And I was like, why am I crying? What's going on? What's going on? And I'm 30. Like, I've been living as a lesbian most of my adult life till then. Like, all of my adult life till then, basically. And I was kind of, okay, what if, am I a trans guy? Is this, I'm a coward? What's going on? So, I asked to meet a friend after Pride that year. It was like, I think a few days after the screening, and we sat down together, and she told me, I told her that I'm like, this is very confusing and what's going on. And she's a trans woman. She told me, listen, I'll tell you what a friend of mine, a trans woman, told me when I told her that I want to transition. She told me, get ready to lose everything.
What did she mean?
To lose your family, your friends, your job, everything you've worked for everything you care for, everything.
But gain yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So she didn't say but gain yourself, but I kind of gladly filled the blank in my head, because I understood that even if I'll lose everything, which it does happen. People do suffer from losing everything when they transition. At least I'll gain myself.
Now in hindsight, was it worth it?
Yes, of course.
But did you actually lose everything, like the prophecy?
I lost some,
but not everything.
and I gained a lot. And it's not black and white. And I some of the things I gained are not necessarily good things. Some of the things,
Right.
But when you're marked by society as different, first of all, I was marked as different from the get-go. So I'm a redhead, for crying out loud.
Can you? I know you said you don't want to talk about certain things, but can you tell us about something that you did lose that?
Yeah, I think, and that's one of the part of why I'm dealing with diversity, inclusion, in work environments, and I also have a Facebook group for like jobs for trans people. I think I kind of lost my swag in sending job applications, going to interviews. I'm the master of job interviews. I'm also pretty nicely educated, and I have tons of experience in different things. But when your CV says that you were a volunteer and this and that,
People deduct.
yes, like when you like if you do I don't know, public speaking about trans issues, or you volunteer with LGBTQ youth, or you had your drag nights, which you started and you managed and you artistically managed and you performed and you also hosted, then somehow it's not when it's LGBT, it kind of stops being professional information and starts being personal. And I'm like, why is it personal? I managed 20 people.
But you're open about your
Yes.
personal life story, so
Yes.
people see that, and then it derogates from your kind of, in their eyes, from your I don't know, qualification.
Yeah. People are very quick to show how welcoming they are, but and then they kind
In
of
theory, like
in
they'll be
theory.
very nice to you in the meeting, but then they won't accept you to do the job. For
yes,
example.
because they would think, like, for instance, I went to for an interview at when I was thinking, first of all, I don't know, I want to be like, I'm not planning on working for anyone. I'm a freelancer and I'm independent, so I'm just now starting, but when I wanted to be employed, but by the way, this is part of the reason it kind of quiets my heart and my head. I feel in a safer place when I don't need to prove my professionalism and not prove that I'm worthy of spending so much time in your offices. Like, this should be my second home.
It goes back to your obsession with yeshiva boys.
Independence.
Independence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Freedom. And exactly. So for instance, I went to an interview at a company that had a branch in Ramat Gan, and they kind of, after being very clear about the fact they love customers coming in trying to get a job at that the specific branch they use as customers because they love it and they can market it, they just gently moved me, and they moved me to get in, like, to get interviewed in the Tel Aviv branch, because it's like the no rules gay
The playground
branch. Yeah, it's a gym, so you know.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And I'm like,
It's like 1 kilometer between the two.
Yeah,
more
yeah.
or less between the two
But a
places.
century.
yeah.
A century
But
apart.
basically, what they actually said is, we will not stand by your side if you encounter a transphobic client. Like in essence, what they said.
Right.
And go sell to the mostly gay guys. They probably would enjoy that more than, I don't know, business people in Ramat Gan. And I'm like, but trans people are everywhere, and we're like, we deserve to communicate with different types of populations and getting treated as a part of the population respectfully. And I'm quite talented. And what are you doing?
It's like telling to an African American in Manhattan,
Yeah.
go to the Harlem.
Well, not anymore.
Branch of-
Harlem now
Yeah,
is
but,
like,
you know, you get my
it's been
point.
gentrified.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's get to. We don't have
So
much-
basically,
yeah.
basically, what happened was, after the conversation with that friend, I had a conversation with another friend, and they told me that they are genderqueer, and I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "I don't know. I kind of feel my gender is not different, with like not a man or a woman. I specifically feel it fluid." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's me." And then it kind of everything fell into place, and I started thinking about gender completely different. I my eyes opened up, basically. Like for instance, I have facial hair, right? So it's
Yeah, the
not.
audience.
Yeah, I have you.
Unless you're watching our Facebook videos, which
Exactly,
you
you should.
should. You can
Even if
tell.
you're listening, you should listen, then go
Like I can
and watch it.
My stubbles. No, I tried. I tried.
So you were wait,
So
you
basically,
were-
I have facial hair, and the facial hair is not it's not testosterone. Taking testosterone.
natural.
It's natural, and I fought with it for a few years, and like with tweezers and shit. Like it was insane. It was extremely painful. And then I thought, wow, I can express my manhood by not fighting with my facial hair. And then I thought to myself, what? Why are women not allowed to have facial hair? Why is it expressing my manhood? It's part of my body, and I was assigned female. There you go. Was assigned female, and it's part of my body. Maybe I'm intersex, maybe I'm not, but basically women have facial hair. Women have hair to protect their bodies and keep them warm like any other creature in nature. And well, some don't, but
I
yeah.
was just having this conversation with my little sister.
There you
She
go.
was like, I'm thinking of growing out my armpit hair. And I was like, don't do that. I know you probably would disagree. But so I feel
Why?
like because it's
Would you say that to a guy?
no, I agree. There's like certain I don't know if they're
I don't
know if
see
they're-
your. I can see your chest hair up to here,
you can
and
pretty
your.
much- even in short sleeves
Yeah,
you can see
you're-
my
no,
Explain-
no, yeah, you can see
explain
your
why.
chest
So
hair.
How
so
do
I
you
think
perceive
that I mean I don't know how I perceive it. Part of it comes from just an urge, like a right. You like say things sometimes from just like an inner place. You're like it just doesn't seem not right, but
Can't control it.
I'm aware that it probably it's
Of course you
a
can
social
control it.
norm. It's
Yeah.
a social norm.
No, you can't control how you feel about it. You can perceive you know what I'm saying?
I'll
Okay.
So wait, so
you
let me
address
just.
it.
I'm saying I understand that big part of it is a social norm, but I think that the drive to be normal isn't always a bad one. Like I think that it's a good to play with the line, but like, you know, and I'm not gonna. I don't think that.
I don't think that normal is a thing. I think that people are very simple and very complicated. Like altogether very, very simple and very complicated. And I think that given the fact that we are in societies that occupy lands and like traveling societies, and we need to be aligned. We need to be controlled. We need to be statistically measured. We need to be made sense of. And we need to be productive to society in a very specific form, which is now being being consumer. And dealing with money and power, then statistics are very twisted in people's favors, and most people, this is just from personal conversations, most people are so disconnected from themselves and are so like living very how should I say
Restrictive lives?
no, it's like they kind of push away thoughts that might be good for them but not good for society, as people are trying.
So
But wait.
For instance,
for instance,
I'll show you something.
Okay.
I'll tell you something. Most of the people I encounter, which are very mainstream, would tell you things like, "Yeah, I wanted to be an actor, but there wasn't any money, and there wasn't any whatever, and now I'm a lawyer."
Right.
It doesn't mean that person is not frustrated.
Yeah. But my question is that if I showed you a research, let's just go along with me here, that said that in Western society, 7 out of 10 men find facial hair in females appalling. Okay? Would you say that that's because of social norms, or is it an evolutionary, instinctual, or maybe a little bit of both?
Social
Or-
norms.
100%.
Yes, because I feel that. What do you mean? I feel okay. So basically, gender is basically the social norms assigned to people according to how they were assigned at birth.
Based on some minimal biological element.
Basically, if we're speaking of researches, most researches show that there aren't a lot of differences, that like statistics do meet in the middle when you cross enough like big data. Men and women eventually are not that different because everyone is people are complex. Trades are trades, and for instance, when you walk around, you kind of for instance, I don't know, I'm kind of curvy, okay? I'm talking about physically. I'm curvy, okay? But I saw men with curves that would not shame me. I when I walk around in Israel, most women are shorter than I am. But when I walk around in Europe, most women are my height and taller. I know some cultures don't mind women with facial hair. It's like historically, for instance, in some, I don't know, the 14th century, when men wore wigs and makeup and heels to make them taller and to make them grander, or I know, corsets and.
But back to my question, the thing is, okay, you think that it's social, back to my analogy, but couldn't it, because we do have some things that we can't stand or that we are attracted to that are more evolutionary, instinctual.
Of course.
Right? So there is a chance
For
that maybe
instance,
it is.
I'll tell you this.
Saying?
I'll tell you this. Basically, what most people find appalling by instinct is the danger of catching diseases. Okay? For instance, they don't like rats or cockroaches because they pass the diseases.
That's a theory
the
of why.
diseases. Okay.
It's a theory. I'm not sure if it was proven by science that that's how they theorize why we are
but you
appalled.
I try not to talk about things that were not proven by science when I talk about science.
So it is proven by science.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, as as an instinct of survival. Okay, so you could say if there's a massive growth of hair in an sterile, like not a clean space, a damp place, whatever, bacteria can develop. Okay, but if you keep your hygiene well, that won't happen. So it depends on how society tells the story of the phenomenon. And also it might even have something to do with I know, if we would talk about survival of the fittest, and not only the physical survival of some race. Like, we still have hair, okay? We're not monkeys, but we still have hair, okay? It's basically part of our bodies, and it's part of our puberty. And but it might be that the perception of being hairless, or the preference of people that have lesser hair, when they get married and they kind of mix up their genes, maybe the next generation would be less hairy. Maybe that would create some kind of. But basically, it's something that defends our skin. It keeps us warm. It locks in air. It defends us if we get these, if you notice, the hairiest places, especially in female bodies, are the most vulnerable places. Genitalia, armpits, whatever. Our head is filled with hair. We need to protect it.
Right. And then the follow-up question, okay, we say it's a social phenomena, but still people who grew up, let's say, for 60 years with that social implementation, or I don't know how you would call it, can you judge them for the fact that it's hard for them to change it?
First of
because
all,
it's not easy. We can agree it's not easy to change something that society burned on your skin.
Yeah. So first of all, I will preferably not judge, as I would not like to be judged.
Okay, fair enough.
And I also understand that it takes some. I don't want to use the word courage. Damn it. It takes some. It takes a choice to be yourself, okay, and to ask questions, because you can choose not to be yourself and not to ask questions and live your life. It doesn't mean you're actually living it, but you're alive and you're kind of getting by. Okay, so being queer, like that word, which we did not speak of, because we spoke about gender queer, but being queer is basically asking questions. You can be heterosexual and queer. You can be homosexual. Like, you can be cisgender.
Questions about yourself.
Questions about what society is teaching you. Like, about things that society is like chewing up for you and feeding you with.
And
that's the.
Could we think of? Because when, I mean, I sat here listening and I was thinking about it, and I'm trying to find kind of some parallel. But I wonder, I mean, to me, something that's very much a social construct is clothing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how far back I mean, so should we all be walking around naked? You get what I'm saying?
No, we should all be walking around however we like without being judged by other people.
Including naked? First
of all, I think that okay, so
it might not be a good parallel. I don't know.
No. Okay, so listen. Basically, I think people should communicate more, okay? And it's not for me to say we should freaking walk around naked. I'm not the person that decides everything.
You're not the minister of.
Yeah, I'm not the
clothing.
minister of
We
humankind.
should have a minister of clothing, though. Because some people are fashion.
First, First of all, I would love to be the minister of clothing. I'm really good at
Although
that.
before the recording, you said you're not into practical politics, but
institutionalized.
Institutional. No,
This will
but
be
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
volunteer minister.
Yeah. But clothing affects so many things, like the lives of so many people. But never mind.
yeah.
Basically, I think that it's not a decision of mine to make how people should walk around, whether clothed or not. And it's not my decision to make, or any other person's decision to make as well. How not clothes or not, but as well.
I think
which clothes as well, because I don't like, for instance, myself, I really like mixing what is considered feminine and masculine. I mostly wear men's. I'm like
Yeah.
men's clothes, but they're colorful. They're floral. They have prints. And I also wear not dresses, but galabia. How do you say galabia in English? Do you?
like a jalabia,
Jalabia.
I think.
But
Yeah.
I think.
Jalabina.
But
Jellybina.
clarify so what you're getting at is that sometimes
I
in
think what I'm
society-
saying is that what I'm saying is that there's first of all, I'm sensing that you're a libertarian at heart. maybe an anarchist almost, but that's exactly the line. Is I think that there are certain
norms.
there are certain things that are harmless enough that the rule of law and the rule of like what's good and bad and the rule of like what's normal and not normal and what's right and wrong. Those are all different lines. I think I don't agree that no one should dictate that we can't walk around naked.
No, I mean no one person. No one. That's why I'm not libertarian, and don't curse at me because I did not curse at you.
But
so I'll tell you this.
Okay.
I think that if people would make, first of all,
You offended our guest.
I didn't mean to. I see it as a compliment, but okay.
I think that first of all, I do have an issue with the concept of countries, because I think that when people tried to like master the puppets, it kind of sucks. If public servants would serve the public more than they serve their own pockets, that might work. Okay, and if people won't bother to kill each other over land, that might work. Okay, but basically that's what's going on. So I'm not all for.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the country I'm in. It's like all the concept.
Yeah.
Okay, we are basically living under the same roof, which is Earth, which does not belong to us. It belongs to the fact that it exists. Okay? It belongs to nature. Nature is stronger than us. Nature has and will, and till eternity, will fuck us up if we try to mess
That's
with it.
why we should fuck it up.
No, that's I don't know. After your supposed compliments, I'm not sure. So basically, we're animals. Okay, we're very intelligent animals, but we shouldn't let it get to our heads. I think that if we treat each other fairly, respectfully, and not give each other grief about expressing ourselves, less people would get violent, stressed,
and suffer.
detached. Less feelings would be repressed.
Agreed.
Like,
But there's got to be rules of the game. You get what I'm saying? Like, I
We
can't,
want-
Yeah.
I can't slap you. I can't, you can't slap me. Like, we can, like, there's got to be some basic rules, and that's what I guess the discussion.
I
is
think
like.
that.
That's where I see. I
think-
guess
I
I'm
think-
saying that's where I see government is like. There's
I
got to be some rules, and someone's got to
How
keep.
do we
I
get
think-
from arbiter to that, though?
No, because okay, so that's a different thing.
That's a different
no, because
type of set of rules.
Then what I'm saying is like what I'm saying is that I think it's a matter of meaning norms aren't necessarily always a bad thing. And
I think that people, not one person, should set norms. I think people
Yeah.
should sit down. First of all, take a deep breath, okay? If someone, I don't remember what you said, something about feelings and not being able to control your feelings. Like, this is something I feel right now. Your emotions, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
for instance,
the society.
yeah, sometimes, I don't know, you can get into a conversation with a person and a person could say something and you get angry. But basically, it's just that's the expression of what you feel. What you feel is offended. You feel that it triggered something from your past. You
Indignation.
triggered like that person. Maybe you feel that person is condescending. Maybe you feel different things.
Right.
But you're mad. So you don't need to be concentrated on the physical expression of your feelings. You need to understand what you're actually feeling.
But that's expecting a lot from most people.
I think that's the problem, because what society...
Final sentence, we have to.
Okay, I think
Wrap
that
things
what
up.
society created is people not being in the moment and not just taking a deep breath to understand like what they're feeling. For instance, if someone sees a trans person walking down the street, they don't think about their legs hitting the pavement. They don't think about seeing a person. They think about the stigmas about trans people. They think about if they're attracted to that person, and oh my God, I'm attracted to that person. What would my family say? What does it say about me? Am I straight? Am I gay? And then they freaking end up beating up that person just because they were not in a moment of just taking a deep
Introspection.
breath, and understanding you're walking in front of a person. And that's that. And you can...
Okay.
I think that's something we can agree on.
Yeah. So before we go, like, how can people contact you? You do lectures.
Yeah.
So if a Jewish community somewhere wants to have you, how do people contact you?
I lectured abroad already. I also lectured about the history of Israeli drag, by the way, not
Okay.
only
I wanted
sexuality.
to ask
and-
about the connection to Israel and Jewish, but
Yeah,
maybe a next follow-up episode.
Yeah, I had an amazing lecture in Belgrade in a queer film festival.
Wow.
Yeah, they tore up my passport when I came back because I'm trans. It's beautiful. It was beautiful, but that's a
shit.
follow-up. Yeah. So basically, you can contact me at my email, Shirley Charlie, Shirley with an EY, and Charlie with an IEK, Shirley Charlie K @gmail.com.
Okay.
You can find me on social.
Facebook will post a link to your Facebook.
Yeah, and Instagram. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to come over
Lecture.
and lecture and talk and share my experiences. Definitely.
Awesome.
Before we go, I do want to say one last thing.
Oh my
I
God.
want to apologize. I want to apologize because we asked at the beginning about what you were born as, and I realized why. First of all, I want to apologize. I don't mean to. I never want to offend anybody, but I think I realized. I think that I assume since you're a public figure that you are willing to talk about, because usually I think public figures are more open about their person and are willing, especially about the domain in which they are a public
So
figure.
as you can
So-
see, I was, first of all, thank you for apologizing. It's very kind of you. Most people don't have the courtesy. I am open, but I do think people should be educated.
Okay, so we learned.
Yes.
And
Now-
before we go, we are collaborating with the Jewish Journal. They're at jewishjournal.com. They have podcasts, they have articles. They're in LA, and you should check them out. And
jewishjournal.com. And also, we do this on our free time, guys. So if you want to donate, to njb.com/donate.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Woo.
Thank
Thank
you, Shirley
It was a
Charlie.
pleasure.
Thank you guys for
Bye.
listening. Bye.
Bye.